What's up, my support fibro friends? Hello, how are you doing? Good morning and good afternoon. Brandy from Being Fibro Mom and Support Fibromyalgia is here joining us. We have a very special broadcast surprise broadcast this morning, talking about what's in your pain toolkit. So we'll be going over what's in our pain toolkit, but we've heard from a lot of you out there, and we want to hear what tools and tips are you using to help manage your pain, especially as we are in Pain Awareness Month. So please definitely join our discussion. And if you watch the recording, please also continue to post comments because everybody benefits from this discussion. And say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I am Melissa Talwar. I am the Executive Director of the Support Fibromyalgia Network, and I'm also a board-certified functional medicine health coach with additional training in functional nutrition and neuroscience. So, Brandy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brandy. I run the blog Being Fibro Mom. It's all about, raising family while living with fibromyalgia. It is not perfect. It does not have all the answers, but I definitely share my successes and failures and just our experiences as a fibro parent. And it's a lot of fun to share and connect with the community.
Well, I'm glad that we're organizing these talks together because it's been a lot of fun. And we continue to share and banter about what's ahead. And there's a lot going on, which we can share at the end of the presentation. So I know one of my top tools that I'll have to talk to people about is sleep, which I don't. I've been struggling with lately. So that is definitely affecting pain levels, brain fog, especially. But to get started with our presentation, let's share the deck and we will start. Okay, take it away, Brandy.
Alrighty, so this month is Pain Awareness Month, like Melissa was saying. So this is all the Pain Toolkit essentials. These are must-have items to decrease pain and maximize healing. So there's a lot of stuff, so we just like grouped it down into really quick, little topics as we go along. And so the first one we have are topical creams. So here are some topical creams that we have. We have the Frida Botanicals CBD balm, the magnesium cream, and the muscle balm. I want to take a moment to say the magnesium cream. Magnesium has really been coming up a lot lately in my my feeds for social media, and we've been talking about it because I didn't realize how much the body reacts to a magnesium deficiency. And so it's really important that you have adequate levels of it. Some other ones are BioFreeze Pain Relief, Cool Azul, which you can get from Young Living, Tiger Balm, and then Topricin Fibro Cream. I was actually going to bring my Topricin Fibro Cream so you guys could see it, but I actually gave the rest of mine to my mom because it's really beneficial to her. I was also going to show you the Cool Azul and just what it looks like and stuff, but I gave the rest to my dad because it is super helpful with his knees, especially with his age. So, and I want to point out some of the benefits to using a topical cream over, say medications or whether they be prescription or over the counter, is it's applied directly to the target area of pain. They usually have faster results. They often last longer. They can alleviate pain as well as reduce inflammation, and they have fewer side effects, which is super important for me because I am very sensitive when it comes to any kind of medication that I put into my body. So topical creams are a must for me. And I've heard great things about Frida Botanicals. Melissa, you use Frida Botanicals too, don't you?
Yeah, I really like the balm, and then she has a magnesium cream also with the that she's created. So sorry, I was saying she, meaning Dr. Lipton. So it's doctor formulated with Frida Botanicals. And so that's why we're huge supporters of the company and having to try it. And then it doesn't have a very vast, huge smell, but I know I also use Topricin Fibro Cream because of there's no smell coming out. I mean, there's always like for people that are really sensitive to smells, there are always some aspect of these ointments that have a little bit, but you don't want to be going around if you're outside and smelling like some of the Bengay days that we would do and use. So yeah, I do agree with you. I do love, especially for muscle tension and tightness. And then I tend to use it too around my forehead and around my mouth because my jaw gets really tense. So
Yeah, and Dr. Lipton, her name might sound familiar. We talk about her often. She's the author of the Fibro Manual, which Melissa and I have both read numerous times because it's just packed full of information. And you said Bengay. Cool Azul reminds me a lot of Bengay. It has wintergreen and it has spearmint in it. So it has that really strong minty smell. So if you're sensitive, hold off on the Cool Azul. A little bit goes a long way, but you can smell a lot of it. So the next one, because we're trying to keep this workshop a lot shorter than last time, nutrition and supplements. So when you are in a flare, you're having increased chronic pain, it's really good to remember the Fibro Diet. And when I say diet, I don't mean for weight loss. I mean just your habit of eating from day to day. And so you want to avoid those sugary processed foods because they're highly inflammatory to the gut, which in turn keeps the body inflamed and in pain. So remember to avoid those foods and eat the healing foods that are really good for the body. Staying hydrated. Hydration is super important for the body. It can improve joint pain, regulate body temperature, and maintain blood pressure. It has other whole body benefits too, such as keeping the joints really lubricated and reducing in that flame. And Melissa was sharing her pain toolkit and she had blender in there for nutrition. And yes, blender will come in handy when you're trying to stay hydrated because you can use it for smoothies, and it's really good because you can put chia seeds, flax seeds, all kinds of greens. Like if you're not big on greens like kale and spinach, cucumbers, you can put it into a smoothie and use your blender to blend it, and you can't even taste it, but you're reaping all those benefits of it. Other ways to stay hydrated is to you can drink water, of course, but then there's tea. And you can also get hydration from eating foods such as cucumbers and watermelon. They are packed with moisture and water, so it's really good to get that. Now I'm going to have to ask Melissa to step in for the supplements because she uses brain octane, which is MCT oil, as well as glutathione. I don't know that first word, Melissa. You're going to have to help me with those two.
It's liposomal glutathione. So I definitely could talk about that. And yes, my blender has been an important, crucial part because I'm not a natural born cook, although I'm going to take tips from Brandy when it comes to cooking in a crock pot. So if you have a crock pot or instant pot, that might be an investment in your pain toolkit because anything that you can do to control the ingredients at home, cooking at home, especially if you have sensitivities, will add to this creation of avoiding some of those inflammatory foods that might be increasing your pain. And then, yes, those supplements have been game changers for me. So I use a lot with MCT oil, brain octane in particular. I travel with the brain octane. I used brain octane when we went to Capitol Hill. It was in my back pocket. I probably could do a commercial for them if they ever heard about me. And then liposomal glutathione was also, just a delivery system when you hear liposomal, because what I've noticed is I don't respond as well to capsule forms of supplements. So I tend to do better with tinctures, stuff that's sublingual or things that I have to chew on that get entryway, I'm guessing, into my brain faster. So that's why. And glutathione is actually considered a master antioxidant, which I didn't realize. And it was a big game changer for me to do a combination of those things with like PQQ, vitamin C together in helping my detoxification process and lowering my inflammation, which is a whole separate topic on the science of glutathione at another point in time. And then I see you have vitamin D there as well, which we know is an important piece of the puzzle too.
Yeah, and that's what I like about Melissa and me working with Support Fibro is that we respond differently to things. So I'm more of the foods. Like if I put bad foods into my body, like if I'm just like binge eating on a lot of sugary stuff, or I'm having like tomato sauce or something, my body's really going to feel it. So I heart more on the nutrition side when it comes to like different foods and how to swap. That's what I'm actually sharing on Instagram right now, is like once a week I've been sharing little swaps that you can make to improve the nutrition, just for, you know, a few cents more in the budget, because I really have to be mindful of budget. And then with Melissa, she knows all the science stuff. She does more of the supplements and aims for brain function. And so, but between the two of us, we really cover everything when it comes to this sort of thing. And that's one of the things I really love about working with Melissa, is because I can be like, yeah, eat all this stuff. And Melissa's like, yeah, this is the science behind it. So we cover it all.
Yeah, well, that's the important part because supplements are supplemental. So there's a preference to some of these things, like you said, magnesium, right? Some people respond to capsule form of magnesium, but others of us don't, because especially if we have gut issues, trying to get these nutrients like vitamin D, all the fat soluble ones, A, D, and K in there, it's actually a little bit, it's easier to convert straight from food. So like our favorite fruit out there, avocados, has a lot of nutrients if you can handle it. So yes. And then what's Inner Defense?
So Inner Defense is a supplement by Young Living. What I do is I take this when I feel like I'm starting to have a flare in symptoms, or I feel like, you know, the kids are bringing home germs and they're starting to cough and sneeze. I take this, and what it has is like higher doses of essential oils that fight those bacterial infections. Like there's a lemon, some citrus in there, peppermint. It's got thieves, which is a blend in itself. So it's just a capsule form that you can just take. It tastes really gross when you burp because all those oils are coming, you know, like in your gut. But I only take it because it's almost like it's an antibiotic. So I only take it for like maybe a week at the most, and I'll just take it once a day, and it really helps with that inflammation. And if my body's getting sick, to quickly recover from it. So that's what that is.
Well, that makes sense too, because if you do get sick or you're having allergies, it'll increase your inflammatory response and then increase the pain levels. So that's what we're trying to, anything that contributes to some of the chronic inflammation, we are just trying to reduce in our bodies to help with manage our pain.
Yeah, definitely. And every little bit helps. I can tell when I've had stuff that I shouldn't have. And then when I turn it around, like I kind of flush my system out with some water. And, you know, it takes a while, but then I start putting greens. My body loves greens. I'm not too big on taste wise, but greens is a huge thing. And I'm going to refer Melissa again to that horrible smoothie you made me that one time. But Melissa came to visit me, and I had been telling her a little bit about how sick I was, but then when she saw me in person, she was like, oh my gosh, okay, we got to get you better. And so we went to the store and we came back, and she made me this smoothie, and it was, I don't even remember what you put in it, Melissa. I just know it tasted awful, but I drank it anyway. And within 15-20 minutes, I felt my whole body just coming back online, if you will. It was just so restorative. And I was like, that tastes awful, but oh my gosh, like it is doing, what did you put in there? I can't even remember.
Well, it definitely had no fruit. So it had no, well, I mean, it had avocado, but it had no sweetened, like nothing was sweetened for you because I think that's what you were working on. You had to take out all the sugar. So it becomes very bitter. I think because we used arugula and maybe a combination of arugula and spinach in there with some avocado, coconut milk, so unsweetened coconut milk. We used all those components. So if you're not used to it or you're used to adding fruit, but I mean, for some of us, I mean, we could get into all the science of it. Some people, especially with even autoimmune conditions, like having too much fruit, and we know fruit has healthy nutrients, but that sugar, that insulin response can kick up into added flares and pain. So knowing if that is what you respond to, because we think with like juicing or fruit, like we'll be okay. But there's some of us that do not respond very well to those high intakes of fruit. And we need to get more of the vegetables that are on more of the lower glycemic end.
I definitely had no sugar in it, but it was completely restorative, and I was very grateful. I was sitting up a lot straighter in the chair afterwards than like I was all slumped over or not feeling well. Alrighty. Next one. So alternative options. So these are kind of like going away from the conventional of what we've been talking about. So these are some things that I have used and other people have used. Meditation was super hard for me to try, just sitting still for that 1 minute to try to, visualize and do all that. It was really hard, but it's gotten easier over time. I know a lot of people who do massage, specifically the myofascial release. That has really helped. I used to do chiropractic care, which I hope to get back into soon. That really lowered my inflammation and my joint pain overall. It was so amazing. And I have the best chiropractor because he was telling me about if there's like pressure on the spine, what it does, because all your nerves go from your body up your spine into your brain. And so if there's any kind of pressure or your spine's not aligned properly, that can really damage your nerves and it can cause a lot of other issues. And so that was a huge game changer for me. And so I'm trying to get back into that. Acupuncture works for some people. I've heard some amazing things about acupuncture. Yoga helps a lot of people. I've tried it once and it was not for me at all. And then physical therapy. Physical therapy helped me a lot in the past. I had a love-hate relationship with it because it caused a lot of pain at the time. And it was just, I would be leaving there crying because I was in so much pain. However, I would rest for 24 hours. And then after that, I was able to get up and move again. And after just a few short weeks, I was walking the track that was near our house at the time. I was walking the school track with my kids with no pain. I did have a little bit of pain afterwards, but physical therapy was huge for me. Like it was, I really need to get back into it. And I've heard some people with physical therapy also do the water therapy where they get in the water and they walk on a treadmill and they do that sort of stuff. I had a physical therapist that had fibromyalgia patients and almost all of them were doing water therapy and had huge increases as far as positive results. And that's all they do now. So, find out what works for you. Not all of these are going to work. Maybe all of them will work. Just a couple of things are going to work. We're all different and you're all going to respond differently. So just trying different things, just be open to that and see if that works for you. Have you tried any of these things, Melissa?
I have, and it's tricky to find things that work, and we're all different. This is what's so difficult too when it comes to researching these. And you may have to layer different modalities, like we talked about nutrition, hydration, staying hydrated. So be sure to stay hydrated. You might need more nutrients in your body after you try these alternative type therapies as well, especially if you've done a lot of output of energy in any of these situations. So I think for me, what I've had to mostly gravitate to is meditation because I used physical therapy a lot in high school. That kind of helped me with mobility again. But for some reason, a lot of these modalities stress my body out. It's so weird. And I get post exertion. So I can't recover from these. I don't know if it's just because I get really stressed when I go to these modalities or it causes more pain and I'm not quite sure what's going on. And so that's why it's some of these will work in different capacities or learning to make adaptations like what this looks like. And I just do movement in a different way too. So I found ways that I bring me joy but visualization, meditation, working on some of the hypnosis type stuff, I'll let you know if those things start to work, especially for my sleep.
Yeah, we're going to talk about sleep too. Yeah, meditation, the visualization works better for me because it gives something. I just can't have my brain just blank and not have anything. I actually have to visualize something like leaves floating down the stream. You put your worries on it. And, there's lots of apps out there. There's free apps out there that you can find to help you with that, guiding the meditation and visualization. So use the resources and just figure out, what works best for you. So
Well, and
next we
don't give up. Sorry, I was gonna say don't give up if one thing doesn't work. And then again, there's so many iterations of those. So even for yoga, it's like yoga has chair yoga, different types of yoga. And I know there's people in our community that do and help fibromyalgia patients with different versions of yoga, because I know if you try the extreme versions where you're in like a studio and they put it all hot in the room, I mean, you might pass out. But there's stuff that you can do at home from the bed. Like there's all these things. So if you get discouraged, just think about the diversity and reach out to the community too. There's so many resources out there.
Yes, absolutely. Alrighty. Entertainment. This is super important when we're having to rest. So some ways that you can entertain, distract yourself from the pain, watch movies, read a book. I'll talk about creating a mystery box. Color alone or color with someone, play board games or play card games. These are all ways that you can rest in an enjoyable way. I personally hate when I have to rest because that means I have to sit still and not do anything, and I'm not good about that. And so doing things like this really distracts me and keeps my mind off of things, keeps me settled and in place so my body can get that rest. Now, you can do these alone or with your kids. And so create a mystery box is for your kids. And now I'm just realizing if you have someone you're close with, ask them to create a mystery box with you for you. So what I do is whenever I go to Dollar Tree, especially when my kids were really little, I would just, now this is when I'm feeling well, I would load up on a whole bunch of things that the kids didn't see me buying. And I would just put them aside. And so when I needed to lay down on the couch or in the bed, I would say, come on, guys, snuggle up with me. Let's see what I got in the mystery box. And so it would just be like little games, coloring books. I mean, there's so much that you can get at the dollar store for not a lot of money. And because it's for like special occasions, like when you're flaring, those kids aren't exposed to it all the time. So it's new and exciting, and it's going to get them to calm down. Not really calm down. I don't mean they're like going to be bouncing off the walls when they're excited, but they're really going to be focused and interacting with you. And then you want to make sure that you choose activities that don't require your watchful eye when you're doing these with your kids. You want to make sure there's no mess to clean. You want to make sure that it's the quieter games. And anything that's really going to engage with your children, whether it be crafting. I mean, you can get like one of those little portable tables and put it on your bed and let them craft with you. Get a piece of cardboard. I've done that, big, huge cardboard, put it on the bed and let them craft and stuff like that. So these are things that you can do to really calm. And coloring alone is really important because that really lowers your blood pressure, reduces your anxiety. And there are some really, really cute coloring books, especially for adults out there, on Amazon in particular. And this just can be really a way to just let your mind just relax and do whatever. And so this is important because we need to lay down and we need to rest, and we want to keep ourselves entertained while we do it, not focus on I'm in so much pain, or I got to do this and I got to do that. And this is a way to like really distract. Melissa, do you do any of these things?
I have a better appreciation for the creativity part. I mean, with Carrie, hello, Carrie, who's watching right now because she's been posting some of the interviews from other people. And also like Looms for Lupus, when I went to one of their support groups in person and just doing some of the artwork. It's difficult for my brain because reading books, I probably gravitate towards science, which I'm not sure is resting. And then coloring, I have a funny story of going to Adobe Max with Mike, and they had these where they put a module in your head to measure your brain activity when they gave you an art project. Now I'm with a bunch of creatives, so their brains were like firing and they're enjoying and having joy creating. And my brain, the woman was like, wow, you're really bored. And because I had no activity, so I was cracking up. And it's just, but like if you start talking to me about science, like then like my brain activity, and I had her try it. I was like, let's go through some of the science, and then you start seeing the brain activity. So I maybe that's a good way for my brain to rest. I don't know, but I want to try it more. I haven't gone into it. I've gone to see those coloring books and things like that in art projects. I just tend to get frustrated because I'm not visually inclined. So but again, it's finding something that brings you joy and makes you smile. Maybe it's different for each of us too, but I am exploring this area, and especially humor for movies instead of some of the crime dramas and things that are much more serious that I watch.
I have a habit of watching true crime on TV, and if I watch it too close to bed, it really messes with my dreams. So I have to get better with that. But my husband Dave is the same way as you are. When he comes home and he decompresses, we have a rule that for 15 minutes after he gets home, we don't bombard him with anything. He goes up to his room and he lays down and he puts on a documentary, and he's really into world history and humanity as a whole, and so he just watches that stuff. And I come in, and for me to watch it, I really have to concentrate on it, what they're saying, and follow along. And I'm like, how is this decompression? Like, how are you relaxing? And he's like, I don't know. He can fall asleep to that stuff. I can't. So it shows you that we're all different when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I have to use Toby, my dog. He is probably the one in this alternative space that can actually decompress me the fastest and put a smile on my face.
I have that coming up too, about being with fur babies. All right. So another important thing when minimizing pain and maximizing healing is that you have to absolutely rest. This is an essential part of it. I know that we were talking about things to do while you're resting, but we need to focus on the rest itself as well. So while we're resting, we want to lay in bed or lay on the couch. We want to be horizontal and be comfortable. Use a heating pad if heat works for you, use a heating pad. If cold works for you, use a cold pack. There are lots of adjustable heating pads and ice packs for the body. I mean, you can like strap them to your shoulder, you can strap them around your hip, you can strap them to your back. There's just so many. I've been researching them to try to find. I actually have two sitting here that I was going to show you guys. I have a square heating pad, and then I have a heating pad that actually wraps around the shoulders, and it's magnetic in the front. And so it goes up my neck and around like down to here, and then it goes down my back. And that really works. During the winter months, I get all over joint stiffness and inflammation and pain. So I use a heating blanket. It keeps me warm so I'm not shivering and hurting my body, but it also just gives me heat all over the body, and it just really loosens me up. And just now I don't use it. I use it for like 15 minutes at a time because I don't want to get too used to it, but that can really help. Having support pillows. I currently have a pillow on my lower back for lumbar support. When I sleep at night, I'm a side sleeper, and I know my chiropractors try to tell me, stop being a side sleeper, you got to sleep on your back. But I can't. So I sleep on my side. And what I do is I put a pillow in between my knees, because when you're laying on your side and your knees are together, it puts strain on your lower back. So same thing when you lay on your back. My chiropractor has told me, put a large pillow underneath your knees. It doesn't have to be completely elevated, but just a little bit, because when you lay flat, your feet are actually bringing down your legs, which pulls on your lower back and causes a lot of strain. So you want to make sure that it's just elevated a little bit. Same thing when you sleep on your stomach. If you're a stomach sleeper, put a small pillow and put it right across your hips, because when you lay down, it kind of pushes your lower back downward, and it can put a lot of strain on the lower back. So bringing a pillow kind of brings it up a little bit and keeps it more in line with your whole body. Something else I do to give me extra support is I got a mattress topper. I really need to do a review on it because I love that thing. It has extra cushion, so my bed isn't, killing my back. It's been a lot better. And get quality sleep as often as you can. Melissa, like she said, she has been trying to work on this, and she said she's going to get back to us as soon as she can get this figured out. What have you learned so far about sleep, Melissa? What are your struggles with it?
I think, well, for me, I get a lot of mind racing, and I know pain, insomnia is a big issue for our community, but there's such a connection between stress, staying up late, working on the computer for me, nutrition, and it just creates this cycle over and over again. So for me, it's like waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep because I have racing thoughts for what I need to get done with support fibro right now. There's a lot on my mind, so I'm working and listening and watching. One of my favorites has been Dr. Andrew Huberman of learning all these things and trying new things besides relying sometimes on the supplements that I use. But I have a huge sleep hygiene list. Like I'll go to bed with the amber glasses on, so I start wearing those At night, I have an amber night light, so I don't turn on any lights, and I definitely keep my cell phone away from my face. Although, like I said, I know that I need to do better with my devices lately. So that's something that I already know that that's what's causing and creating issues. But sleep is so important for all of us. And like this slide, seeing it too, is a good reminder. I need to go back to my heating pad as I'm trying to rest. And I love my superhero TV shows, or I like the medical shows. So, but I forget that I should be putting my heating pad on my back. Just it was always so helpful to try. So it's like always we're going back to these tools and then layering them together.
Yeah, and it's really good to write these things down as you figure out what works for you. Because I know when I'm in a lot of pain, especially if I have a lot of fibro fog, I can't remember like what is it I do when this happens? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you've had fibro fog, you understand that it can be very difficult to think. It can even, you feel really overwhelmed with all the thoughts and, all of that. So having a list that you can go back to and refer to, it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. Seeing this image has also reminded me that my mom uses a eye mask when she sleeps to keep out all the lights. Her room is already really dark with darkening curtains, like the blackout curtains. She doesn't have any lights and stuff like that. But she uses a mask, a sleep mask, to go over her eyes to really block out any other residual light that's out there. And they have ones that you can even make it cold a little bit and put it on there so you're cooling. If I get night sweats really bad, so that can help with it. But just I have to have complete darkness when I sleep. However, my kids do not like to be in the dark, so I have night lights everywhere. And while they're not in my room, if it's out in the hallway, it will still penetrate my eyes. I don't know why. It's like even like the little like we have the smart switches on the wall. I had to put black electrical tape over those little spots so those little tiny green lights to know that it's working doesn't penetrate my eye. And Dave was laughing at me. He's like, really, we're down to putting electrical tape on the, and I said, yes, I can't help it. It's just what happens. But now I'm realizing I should just get an eye mask and then I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can sleep with an eye mask, some people with the allodynia, like we're so sensitive to everything, might feel a little bit uncomfortable, and there's different ones. But the light is an issue for so many of us, just a little bit. I know with Mike sleeping with his iWatch, that green light every time, like if he would turn and that green light comes on, I'm just like, oh. So I'm just like, no, 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 you cannot wear this stuff. But it's hard because they want to measure their sleep. So I'm like, okay, we'll do it for like 2 weeks. But after that, like it's gotta go. I can't have any light either. I have the blackout. I sleep in a cave. Temperature is huge too.
Yes.
So temperature for rooms with sleep. Yeah, I mean, and again, we're layering everything. We have to do everything on top of each other to get good quality sleep.
I visited my niece like a few months ago, like yeah, like 5 or 6 months ago, and she put me in her guest room, and she was like, I'm sorry that it's really dark in here, and my husband's going to be in the next room working, and he's going to be a little bit loud because of him talking and this." I'm like, it's fine, just close the door and let me go to sleep, because I had just driven 9-10 hours to go see her, and I was turning around and coming back the next day. And so I went in there and shut the door. It was completely dark in there. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. There was no kids in the house because she doesn't have kids. She was being super quiet. Her husband was supposedly being loud, but I didn't even hear him. That was the best night's sleep that I have gotten in years. And so I jokingly told her that I need to schedule regular trips to her house and sleep in her room, because that was the best sleep. It was nice and cold in there. I'm getting distracted. And
You
just
you you should run an experiment to see how many days it takes to see what it would do to actually catch you up in how you feel in that environment. It's actually a fascinating experiment you could do.
I drove home the next day. I was in DC traffic because she lives right outside of DC. I was sitting in that traffic at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, going to see my son before coming back to South Carolina. And I was so awake for the entire drive. Now, when I got home, I was tired, but I was so restored after that sleep. I even just woke up and I was just like, it was the next morning, and I don't ever do that. So it does have an effect on you. And you just don't have to get sleep just at night. Sometimes I feel like my eyes are just burning because I'm so tired. It's usually around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And if I just go and lay in my sunroom, or I just go lay on my bed, like don't get under the covers and get too comfortable. But if I just lay down and just close my eyes and set a timer for like 20 or 30 minutes, sometimes I'll fall asleep and sometimes I don't, but just getting that rest is just really just, it helps out.
Definitely, because rest doesn't have to always equate to sleep. So anything that you can do to calm, and this could vary across the board from doing the activities that you just mentioned, like coloring, creativity, to just meditation could create that sense of rest. To anybody with spirituality, like some people do that component and that creates rest as well.
Yes, it's super important. All right, these are some other ideas. Please don't get distracted by the cuteness you see on your screen. I meant to ask you, Melissa, for a picture of Toby, because Toby is super, super cute, especially when he was doing that little ball thing that he was doing that your mom got him. Oh my gosh, he's so adorable. Fur babies are huge for being able to just heal us. They have been known to just lower our blood pressure, our anxiety. When my grandmother was getting really sick some years ago, we got her a little Shih Tzu, and that little dog did wonders for her. It really brought her out of her depression. She didn't have super depression, but she had a little bit of it. She had a lot of friends passing away at the time. It really didn't make her feel so alone. She lived with my mom, but she pretty much stayed in her room and stuff. And so getting her dog like really elevated her spirits, and you could see a physical change in her. So love on your fur babies. That's what they do. We just got this puppy back in March, and I was just like, I don't know if I want another dog. Let's just see how it goes. She is completely empathetic. She knows when I'm not feeling well, especially if I'm crying and upset. She comes over to me. She's very gentle, and she really has helped me get through so much in the last few months. So they're essential for you. I know, Melissa, you were saying that Toby, when you get done working and you take a break and you walk away, he gets super excited to see you. How does that make you feel?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it automatically just puts me in a good mood when he comes over because he's so silly too. I think he recognizes when I'm working too hard or need a break, so he'll come and want a massage. He's a very spoiled dog and gets his neck and butt massages, so it works both ways. He loves it, and then it makes me smile. There's nothing that brings it's the same. It just automatically, no matter what's going on, I can like break from it, and then I just start smiling.
They really just bring up everyone's spirits. I know I've had a lot of people comment when I post pictures of her, and I've had a lot of people comment. Another thing that Melissa brought up was comfortable clothes. This is extremely important when we just need to, be relaxed. We went to DC, and I made sure that I got slides. I'm looking at the word slide. I got flats that actually had memory foam in there, and so that way, I looked nice, but I was also really comfortable. I wasn't wearing heels. I wore pants that were really comfortable. That's important, especially if you have allodynia in the way that it feels. And then we have compression socks. I have compression socks before. My pain in my feet can be a lot, so compression socks really work. I had someone recently on Instagram tell me that she uses 2 or 3 pairs of socks when she needs to, not only for it being cold, but she has hardwood floors in her house, and so she doubles and triples her layers of socks to help give that cushion. And I thought that was a good idea, so I started doing it as well, because I don't have carpet in my entire house, just in parts of it. And so I started keeping a pair of socks next to my desk, so that way when I'm around downstairs, I can put those on, and it really does help. And the extra layers of socks really gives that tightness that what is it about compression, Melissa, that helps the hands and the feet when people wear them? I don't know the science behind it.
Ooh, I should have prepared for the science behind it, but I've been looking into it for just issues with people with POTS. So I've been exploring their community and what they use with just making sure we got proper circulation. and also just with circulation, making sure blood pressure and all of that is working correctly. So, but it's funny that you mentioned that because it's something that I was researching as I have to jump on a plane next month. I'm like, should I have that on? So if anyone has more information, please, please do share.
Yeah, I'd like to know too. You could also journal. A lot of people do this. They have, I just recently found something on Amazon called like the 52-week mental health journal. And all it does is ask you a question, and you're supposed to just take a few minutes to like write it out. I know a lot of people find it therapeutic to be able to write down their emotions and just get it out. Make sure to take your medicine. I know this sounds super easy, and how would we forget? However, my daughter is on medication every day, and she will stop taking it because she's like, oh, I feel fine, I don't need to take it. And then like a week later, she's like feeling really crummy and, this and that. And I said, have you been taking your medicine? She's like, well, no, I stopped because I was feeling well. And I said, it doesn't work like that. Even if you're feeling well, you need to take it. Sometimes she'll forget to take it. And I'm like, you need to set a reminder to take it. Because that's super important, whether they be prescription or over the counter. Make sure you take them if you need to, because it can really help. CBD oil, that's a huge one. I don't have any left because I gave it to my dad. I used to put it under my tongue because, and just let it sit there until, I was like, okay, I got to swallow it. That really helped lower my anxiety because prescription medicine was not helping. CBD oil, I get it from Young Living because I'm really worried about quality, like what's in it and the ingredients. And I know that CBD oil is pure. And I would take it and I'd put it under my tongue, and it would completely just like, now it was like, it wasn't 100%, but it was enough to take the edge off to make me feel calm. So my dad started having eye pain from shingles in his eye, and he started taking that. Again, it doesn't take it all the way away, but it helped him. I even told him to just like rub it like on his temple, just of the eye that was infected, so it could help out, and that helped him as well. Epsom salts are really good when you're soaking in a bath. They really help with inflammation and detoxing, and it's nice to just lay in a warm bath and just relax and 15-20 minutes and then get out. So it's really awesome. Melissa, do you have anything to add for this one?
Oh, that's just a great list of different modalities that people can try and go through. And if you've tried these, just let us know some successes with them. I know you can play around with like the CBD oil and different versions and journaling people use. I do want to say, yeah, with the medications. And two, if you notice before you're having a pain flare, utilize what's been given to you and then work with your provider as well when it comes to figuring out what you can do before you have actual like pain flare come up, if there's anything in the preventative space that you can utilize.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I should have covered preventative too, because not overextending yourself. Earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday, I was able to do yard work for the first time in 4 weeks because we've had so much rain. And when I was doing it, I was like, wow, I wasn't able to do this 4 years ago. I wasn't able to do yard work all in one day within 2 to 3 hours. It used to take me days to do it. And so I hopped onto Instagram and did a live video about how I was able to take those baby steps to take, 2 to 4 days of doing yard work. And it put me out for a whole week in flares to be able to do it once a week, every week for 2 or 3 hours. It did not happen overnight. It was something that I had to listen to my body, respect my body, not overextend myself. So if you want, you can go over to Instagram on Being Fibro Mom and check that video out. Maybe it'll be helpful because definitely preventative is super important. All right, so this is the most important part. If you do not remember anything else from this workshop video, please remember what I'm about to tell you, okay? This is super important. Be kind to yourself. Remember, you're not being lazy. You are healing. You need to listen to your body. Do not have guilt. Remember, self-care is not being selfish. Give yourself love and grace. This made me kind of emotional because I know that when I am flaring, I can be my worst enemy. I can, just be like, oh, you're not good enough. You're being weak. Why do you have to be like this? Why does my body have to be like this? Oh, I wish I could do X, Y, and Z and this and that. And I'm just going on and on and on. That does nothing for me. If anything, it harms me and makes it worse. Mental health and body care go hand in hand. So when you are having those days, try to stop with those thoughts. I know that it's really easy to slip into it. I know that it's really hard to stop. But if you have to write it on a piece of paper, if you have to post it somewhere where you see it whenever you're feeling this way, write these things down and tell yourself these things, because even though you may not believe it because of where you are, it is absolutely true. You only get one body. You don't get it another one. And whenever you are mentally thinking, if you're thinking to yourself, your body can hear it and it will resonate throughout your body. Your body doesn't want to be like this. It doesn't want these limitations. So just like we put in all the good food in order to nourish it, we have to put in all the good thoughts and the healing energy in order to just resonate throughout our body. I recently saw on Instagram Dr. Mark Hyman. I watch him a lot. And he was saying there's a really recent study that was showing that when they hooked up two people to an EKG machine, two people that are very like connected, that the person that was not hooked up, their heartbeat could be detected in the person that did have the EKG hooked up to them. Like he said you could actually see it on the waves of the chart that their heartbeat was coming through. And he was saying, how in sync two people can really be. And it goes for the opposite. If you're in a toxic relationship, how that can make you really physically ill and all these negativities. It's the same when you're thinking those things to yourself. Don't try to be hard on yourself. Your body doesn't want to be like this, like I said. So be kind to yourself, be nourishing in those thoughts, and just know that it's not going to last. You will get out of it. And I know, friends, I know that it seems like there's just not an end to the suffering, and that it's just really negative thoughts can come from it. I know. But changing that mental thinking around is very, very crucial when you're healing. Love yourself, be kind to yourself, and show yourself grace.
It's definitely an important message, and I always use, like, the self-love topic because how we talk to ourselves becomes this component of it, and I know it is very difficult, especially when pain is high or things are just, like just life sucks. Like, it just comes at you, and it's pouring, and everything is bad. It's hard to see through what you can do, but that self-talk, and again, it's cheesy, but I do use it myself to really understand what I was doing. Like, I was cursing at my stomach when it was acting up in public. I was just always irritated and hidden, and how much it changed when I started to be like, okay, I had to shift, like, to get motivated, like, come on, stomach, you can work with me here, we got this. Like, and just really also working on breathing techniques, which we didn't necessarily talk about, but how are you breathing? Like, I always check in with myself because I'm terrible at breathing. And I saw someone talk about Tai Chi in the comments, which we'll get to shortly. But breath work, even just in the moment, if you notice if you're like not breathing or if you're hyper breathing, like there's all these techniques. But such a great point with the self-care and really talking to yourself with a lot of self-love. You are definitely the person in your body, so make sure that you continue to, even if it's putting affirmations up of how you're awesome. You have a community of all of us too to tell you that you're awesome, so please lean into that.
Yeah, and definitely reach out to those that you trust to talk to about it. My daughter, the other day, I was making dinner and she just got up and she just walked to her room. And I was like, well, that's very uncharacteristic. And so I got to a stopping point and I went up there and she was crying and she was upset. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, she has a texture issue when she eats. So she sees all these foods that she wants to eat, but then she tries to eat them and she can't eat them because of the texture. And so she was crying and upset because all the food I was making looked really good to her, but she couldn't eat them. And she was really mad at herself. And she went through this whole entire downward spiral of talking to herself. And I said, I understand it. Sometimes I get really upset with my gut because my taste buds love it and my gut cannot. And so I understand that. So why don't we do this? And then her and I made this plan to be able to better address it. And at the end of it, she was like, thanks, Mom, for talking to me about it. And I said, that's what we're here for. We're here to help one another. And it goes same for our fibromyalgia community. Whether you're near or far, reach out to your community and say, hey, like, I'm having a problem with this. How can I fix it? And you don't have to go into details if you don't want. Just say, this is the problem. I need some solutions. And that's what we're all about at Support Fibromyalgia Network, is really reaching out to the community and helping one another through the times. Because I can guarantee what you're going through is not the first for anyone. Someone else has already been there, is there, or will be there. And so if we share these experiences and we share this advice, we can really help one another. And that's what this community is all about. So the last slide that I have is just some resources. We can share them out as well. This is a flare survival kit by Counting My Spoons, and fibro flare up survival kit from This You Need. And then a short little YouTube video that I found by Jennifer that addresses the flare pain kit. And so that's all I have.
Awesome. And if you have strategies that you want to share with the community, please let us know. If you are willing to have us quote you on the blog, we'll add you in, because this is important information for the entire community. And I want to just check in with everybody who's been posting comments. Thank you so much for watching the presentation. Carrie, what are you doing up that early? I know the time zones now, so something must be working or something. You must be working or doing a conference, but good to hear from you. And she does love her smoothies with NutriBullets and crock pots. Yes. So I really encourage people to, if you can, make these investments. I know there's different tools that we can use to cut down the time, and especially with pain flares and branding, I can do a separate workshop just on batch cooking, prepping, freezing items, so that way you can just reheat when you are not doing well, but you're still getting nutrition into your body. Hello, Cassandra. Thanks for joining us. So definitely watch later, chime in. It's good to see you on here. Physical therapy and water therapy. Okay, yeah, I've heard water therapy, and I know it's not available everywhere, but I've heard really good results from that. And people have less of these post-exhaustion or post like flares afterwards too. Let's see, Renee. Okay, so Renee asked a question. It's separate from the topic, but I'm gonna post a resource for you. It's called HowTo, and I really want to support this website. And I've reached out to the creators because they have so much information for free on applying for disability that I think people can really value. Unfortunately, sadly, the founder passed away. So I've been trying to figure out how to best support all the work that's getting done for free, but they give a lot of information on disability, applying. I could probably write the book on everything that you don't want to do when you're applying, because I did everything wrong and no one told me. So it is definitely a process. And I can see here, yes, it's definitely a process for understanding the game. There are people that have services out there. They do charge to help you within the process if that's the route you want to go. But this website, the HowTo website, how to survive on small income, how to understand disability, how to apply, finding a lawyer, all of the details are on that website. So I'm going to share that link, and Renee will be sure to share it with you. Lori talked about Tai Chi. So Tai Chi, well, it's slow movements too, or Qigong. There's some great resources on there going back to breath work, slow movement. Everybody's going to be different on the amount of movement that they do. And I've gone into this in other videos too, is watch what movement works for you. And I learned this in the Karazian Institute based on vigilance. So if you tend to just be more anxiety driven, where there's a lot of vigilance, you don't feel like you can turn off your brain, if you're going to the gym, notice if you tend to have this post-exertion crash, but try some of those exercises in a quiet environment and see if you can handle more, because that vigilance of going to the gym, there's all this noise, there's people around. So that's added extra stimulation and stress on your body. But they have science now. If you remove that component and you try some of the similar things at home, for chronic pain patients especially, they seem to be able to do a little bit more and a little bit better when they get out of the environment.
And
So
I'm
it's
going to piggyback off of that too. And something that Melissa usually says is, oh, with movement, is that don't think of movement as exercise like going to the gym or walking or running or stuff like that. You go out to your garden, washing dishes, doing chores even can get your heart rate up. And so don't think of movement as just exercise. Melissa is talking about how do you move with the music? That's movement.
Yeah, I've been sharing this a lot, is after these meetings or these stretch, like I'll just do stretch. I have a playlist because I've been sitting all day at the computer. I have it timed and I'll just dance. I have my favorite playlist. Nobody's watching. I'll go run and play with Toby. I'll go outside with Toby. And so that's just, I'm getting my movement in. Laundry is very much enough. And I think even for you, Brandy, having a family, if you actually measured how many steps or how much movement you were doing, oops, you would actually see that you're getting a lot of movement in, more than you think.
I track my steps. I get between 2 and 4,000 a day. That's a lot. Well, that's before I started this part-time job. Before that, it was between 2 and 4,000 a day. That's a lot of steps. And that's when I have my phone on me. I don't always have my phone on me. So just don't discount what you already do.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing, because people are already doing a lot of movement and then they go and they follow instruction on exercise. And this whole stigma with 10,000 steps, let's just throw that away within our community. Like, get rid of that, because that is not reality. That's a lot. That is a lot of work, and that will crash you out potentially for most of us for a while and create a lot of pain. If you can handle it, awesome. But for the rest of us, you're already doing stuff. I want you to be able to do regular activities in your life. Just like Brandy said, we have to do our laundry to live. We have to wash the dishes. So if we can just start there with normal activity and then build up, like if you want to do those things, sure. But understanding that it's quite tricky. And then Danielle here has been utilizing some CBD. So that's a high topic too in our community, Brandy, and we have to dive into more details. I'm glad we're investigating it more. There's more people talking about it. So we have a lot of important information there.
We really need to do a workshop on that, because when I first started reading about CBD years ago, I didn't know that we had an endocannabinoid system in our body and what happens when a lot of those receptors are damaged or there's gaps in it. And that's where CBD comes into play. So yeah, I think we should do that in the future, is CBD and how does it work? The science in it. You'll love that part, the science of it.
Well, we just had that interview with the University of Michigan,
Oh,
Dr.
yes.
Kruger and Tyler, from More Better. So if you hear the discussion, he is Tyler especially. Oh, and both of them actually, they're very well versed in the science of what we have to learn, and anything with that's what they're measuring too. They're trying to figure out if there's a certain dosage and formulation that would help us best within our systems to kind of manage the chronic pain, which is fascinating. So any delivery mechanisms, because it's very confusing. Some people do better with tinctures, some people do better with edibles, topicals. So what is it, and is there an average there? Or are we going to find out that, again, it's a very wide spectrum? So there's a lot of conversation about that right now, which is super helpful, even at the major conferences too.
So, and where is that video? Aside from Facebook, is it on YouTube as well? Because I remember you doing that interview.
Yes, so you can find the interview actually on YouTube. It's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Awesome.
And then there is one question, Renee. So there's a lot of information too about energy drinks. And I know this is off topic. So if you're looking for, there's a lot of issues here, and you have to be specific too. With there's more natural energy drinks out there on the market. be careful with the B vitamins for people. Sugar is obviously going to be like tank your system out. Some of the energy drinks have a lot of sugar, a lot. And I always tell people, when you visualize those teaspoons of sugar in the morning, would you ever put 10 to 20 teaspoons of sugar in your morning coffee or in your morning tea? So visualize that, because that's how much is contained in those beverages. So if you wouldn't do that when you wake up in the morning, scooping sugar in, then really consider that. Sometimes there's just too much caffeine for people. There's all these other additives. So it really, really depends on what the type of drink is. If you're looking for, if you're looking for caffeine, there's different ways to do that as well.
And definitely, Renee, if you're on Instagram, look up Flav City. He's on YouTube as well. He's most likely on Facebook, but Melissa told me about him and I started watching him. And now every time I get an alert that he's live, I immediately watch him because his videos are super short. But he's been doing some Starbucks stuff, and where he's like, you know, the pumpkin spice latte, because that's in season right now. And he like buys it and he shows you how much sugar is in it. And you just don't realize it until he has that. And you have to be careful. She says that the ones I drink have no sugar. I'm sure that there's some kind of sweetener in it. And sometimes those, you know, made up sugars, I don't know a better term for that, Melissa, you might know a better term, that or they're actually worse than the sugar. Is that correct?
Yeah, and they can change up your microbiome. So this is where it really gets tricky. And if you observe how you react, it's kind of not necessarily bad or good in these situations. We can't be so black or white. If I am not exactly sure, okay, so using some of the stevia in there, yeah, so it doesn't bounce up your insulin. And I mean, just going back to these Starbucks drinks, like we really have to consider in the pain space, if that's how we want to start our day, with like 30 grams of sugar. And then if you combine it with something else, which has a lot of sugar and carbs, like this is the whole idea of inflammation within this, which is a whole nother topic of nutrition. And again, we don't want to penalize people or make people feel bad or good. We have a coach we work with, and she just says there's always a consequence. So if you notice you're crashing out and you need a lot of energy drinks or a lot of coffee from these coffee stores, really consider then and create awareness as to why. Why is that happening? Is there something in there that making you need or something else that you can work on onto like why you're needing like 4 cups or 4 drinks to keep you going throughout the day?
And I'll say just one more thing, and then because we've been really off topic, I'll say one more thing is that when I went through the Dr. Sears program to get my health certification, he was saying that a great way to get energy, for especially first thing in the morning, is protein. So like concentrate more on the protein in the earlier part of the day and less on it in the evening, because that can also keep you awake. And you know, remember those good carbs too. We could go on all day about this. I don't want to keep going on because we're already over
I know,
time.
because we're so different. Since I use fats, so I use like MCT oil and fats in the day. Like I don't use anything else when I get started. So it's so different. And other people use protein, so they'll make sure they add the protein in the morning, or they add vegetables and stuff. So there's a variety of ways. But I think if anything, it's just trial and error to see what works for you. And if you are adding a lot or trying to even function during the day, then take a look and reevaluate maybe how you're starting your day.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, thank you so much to all our support fibro friends. Thank you, Brandy, for spending time with us going through the pain toolkit today. I want to hear from all of you on more on like the pain toolkits, what you use to manage pain. And keep asking your questions, and we'll be checking in with you in the comments as well. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks.